up, you guys? It's Miles, and I have merch. I have new merch on godhatesmiles.com. It's real, I pay for that yearly. But also, it's just something that if you have unsupportive parents, they can't say no to. God hates Miles. God hates we're agreeing with you. Can I have this nice t-shirt? Is the trans flag literally my face? Also, I have zero proof of this. Like, you just have to trust me, because like, I'm like a great guy. My baby blanket was light pink, light blue, and white. How are you gonna be mad that I'm transgender? You wrap me in the flag of my people. Before this video starts, I will be giving away a hoodie of your choice to one commenter who answers the comment question at the end of this video. And I'll announce it in my next video. I know, don't call it a comeback, he never left. Okay, let's do it. How do you come out at work? Okay, I had a job when I was a teenager, and the only thing I could define at that time was my queerness. It was so hard for a while working there. It was a really like femme place. Like a lot of girlies worked there. And these girls were like taking pictures in groups. Taking pictures like this, you know? And then there was my gay ass. And I was being seen as a girl, and I was dating girls at the time. And I felt like I had this like big Hannah Montana moment. Also, I had a family member that like worked in the company. And it was hard for me because my coming out didn't go well with that person at the time. And I was told by that family member, don't come out to anyone at work because it would be embarrassing and I could get fired. Which I don't think that's legal. But as a teenager, like that scared me so bad. And also hurt in so many ways. There was a lot of layers to it. And so how I came out at work was just not planned at all. This is so embarrassing. I used to work at this mall, right? And on my break, I would go to this one like food place. I'm trying to be so vague. There was this one person who worked there who had like a lip ring and an eyebrow piercing, which if you know anything about me, I ended up having both. So you could assume a baby me was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I ended up doing it. They had short hair and was just like obviously the only other queer person in the vicinity, but you have to understand at the time, I did not look like a queer person in the vicinity. So I met them, and like for weeks, every time I'd have a break, I would go get food there and we would talk for a bit, and I was just like, you're like great. So one day, I go to work, I go to break, I see her, I go back to work, and I'm just like, damn, I have to ask her out. Like I have to. And I'm like so scared, like no haircut, no pronouns. Like I am just so like baby Miles at this point, but I'm like, this person, I like you. And so I lost my chance because my break ended like 10 minutes ago and I've got 4 hours left of my shift. So I don't know the next time I'm gonna see her. And so my Scorpio ass goes up to my manager and I'm like, hey, my break just ended, but can I have like 5 more minutes? Like I just have to run, I'm gonna be right back. She's like, why? And I stand by this. Honesty is the best policy. Every time I have chosen not to just be so grossly honest, things have backfired. Everyone else is living the same human experience you are. So all these little nuances, all these little gray areas, all these little fears that don't really make sense, everyone else also feels. And it's hard to remember that when you're like in the moment. You're like, I have to come up with something that like makes sense. I have to say something other than like the truth totally makes sense. And so I just look at this woman and I'm like, I like girls, and there's a girl that I want to ask out that works at the hot dog place. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh my God. Oh yeah, go, you go. So that's how I came out. And I mean, that was a really supportive response. And like every shift that I had this manager with, she was just so nice to me, like wanted to know all the gay tea. And so I just started coming out in common conversation to other people. You know, someone's talking about something with their life and I'm like, oh, that pertains to me also, but in a gay way. Like someone I know that's gay said that too to me, and we're both gay together, but we're not dating. But I'm also gay. But the end of that story was not a Cinderella moment. I went back to Wetzel's Pretzels and she was gone. But I was on a mission. This is gonna sound absolutely absurd, but I'm gonna tell you, this is my life. Shit like this is what happens. I flag down the manager and I'm like, where's blah, blah, blah? And she looks at me and she goes, oh honey, they quit. And I said, what? No, I was just here like 10 minutes ago. I was just here. And she goes, oh no, today was their last day. Their shift just ended. Like I shit you not, I never saw this person again. And I had to like walk back to the store I was working at being like, I just outed myself to my manager on a quest for love. What the fuck? So that's how I came out at work. Now my work is just like this. So, people know. Can you ask August out for me? Are we doing this? August, Jay wants to ask you out. And I bless this union. What if we found love in a Miles McKenna video? What was your favorite part of May? Oh, my phone just literally made one of those awful iPhone videos of here's you at home in May. First picture, me crying. May was, it was okay. Were people shocked when you came out as trans? Now listen, we know trans people are just trans people, even if you did not have the space or the language to define it or be it, you know? But even if you didn't have like a handle of LGBT cultural competency, if you just looked at me at any age in my timeline, you could either see I was really hurting or I was really transing. So one, I don't know how anyone was confused. I literally said in the intro of my coming out video.
It's so absurd. Well, if anyone's gonna end up being trans, it's gonna be me.
There was a point in time where the only hate comments I would get be like turfy lesbians who'd be like, when is she gonna come out? And like the light was on in the closet, right? Like I was in there and like I knew, but I was really scared to come out. And it was like, these queens are trying to be mean to me, but you're actually the only people in my life who really see me. So, how long did it take for you to stop answering to your dead name? Ooh. I have a really crazy story that I have kept from you guys since 2017. So I started going by Miles in 2016. I like told the internet in 2017 and a lot of people in my life, but I started going by Miles in 2016. And when I say going by, I mean going to Starbucks and them saying, what name do I put on the cup? And me saying, Miles. And then one time some queen saying, oh, is that your boyfriend? No. So coming out at 21 for me had a lot of advantages, especially being a 21-year-old who was already in the line of queer work. Like my job was just like acting and public speaking and being an influencer for like queer youth. Like I was already in really affirming spaces. And so when I came out as trans, family that was already not accepting of me were not in my life. Everyone who was in my life socially totally got the memo, totally respected me, totally loved me. And so no one would call me by my dead name after I'm like, that's my dead name. It's not alive anymore. You can't revive that shit. A virgin can't light a candle on Halloween and revive that shit. That was a Hocus Pocus reference. Thank you. Until in 2017, so we've been out for a while, right? Like the video is published. The girls know, okay? I was at an internet event. You don't know about this. No one knows about this. I was at a hotel and I was out on my balcony. And so people that watch people on the internet will hang out around this hotel and then they'll wave to people that they recognize on the balconies. I'm out on this balcony. Someone on another balcony, someone that makes things on the internet, yells my dead name. And I turn my head. And when I tell you the hardest punch of that situation, and you don't even know the whole situation yet, was the fact that I turned my head. It was that I turned my head because it was just like, obviously, like muscle memory. So to pause the story right here, I understand that weight and where you're like, no, like, I feel like I just dead named myself. Like, why did I do that? That's normal, and that's so fine. I mean, obviously, like, you just changed your name. You've been going by another name your entire life. What do we always tell people when they mess up pronouns or names? It's not to make a big deal of it. It's not to, like, overly apologize. It's to be like, oh, sorry, and then say the right name, and then keep moving on. Like, that's what you're supposed to do, right? That's what you do for yourself. You just gotta keep it pushing. But also that, like, muscle memory, it doesn't last forever. I ended up making a lot of friends that actually have my dead name, which was really great for me in the adolescence of my identity, because it was really solidifying that, like, this is not my name. This is your name. This is my good friend's name. That's not mine. Anyways, to end out that last story, I turned my head to see another person from the internet filming me and laughing and then going back into their hotel room. And so I fade into my hotel room and I'm like, what do I do now with this information? What do I do? I had also seen that person earlier that day in a group of people where they gendered me correctly in front of a group. What do I do? So I start drafting a tweet, right? I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to do. And I don't at them. I'm just like, this is something that happened to me. This is how you address trans people. And then I'm like, well, it's not a matter of addressing. This person was just actively trying to, like, I don't know, get me good like they did. And so I'm sitting here with like all this emotion, all this confusion. What will he do next? And I'm like, I can post this tweet that's just going to be received by a bunch of people who already know this information, who already know how you're supposed to address trans people. Or it's gonna reach a bunch of people who are trans that get disrespected every single day. It's not really gonna reach the people that are doing stuff like that. So I was like, I can post this tweet, or I can count the number of balconies and floors and just get to their hotel room. And so I did. I used my counting abilities. I took the elevator. By the grace of trans Jesus, the door was open. They were gonna throw a party. and my trans ass just showed up. I don't know why they didn't think that I would show up. I openly talk about having a hard childhood. I slept in my car. Why didn't you think I wouldn't show up? The trans person is the last person I would think that would not show up. And I just walked in and I was like, what the f is your problem? Everything was fine after that. So we worked it out. So yeah, I just talked to this person one-on-one and they apologized to my face. And I ended up seeing them like a year later. And you know what? They didn't call me by my dead name. So, progress. But that was one of the things where like, it wouldn't be helpful to like at this person publicly and like do a whole dance. Like I didn't leave that conversation thinking, yeah, they're gonna go out there and they're just gonna hate on all these trans people. If I thought that, then I would say something because then it's like, okay, y'all should know this guy's gonna be real mean to you if you're transgender, but it was all fine. But yeah, that was a really great lesson for me though, where it was like, I don't have to not hide behind my keyboard, but like I had the ability to use my powers of deduction to count where this person may be and have a conversation with them. And I did, and I got more out of that than if I would have just sat there with those feelings. And I think it was more productive than if I would have like said something on just having like a real conversation with another person of like, why did you do that? And like, don't do that. And here's what you should be doing. Why would you do that? What were your other name choices? So you can actually find an entire list of names that I narrowed it down to in my book, which just came out in paperback. Barnes & Noble wants to know your location. Girl, you have the book, you know too much. So I have to go, right? I just saw a cop that was hot. Is this how Lana Del Rey feels? Oh God. Why am I so embarrassed? Why is this like so embarrassing? I wrote a book. Oh my God. It's not my book, but it's a book that someone wrote about people giving me a book deal. This is Mystery and Thrills, so we must be close. Okay, BTS didn't recommend my book. Sounds homophobic. Wow, okay, it's not my book, but on second thought, if you're gonna spend the money, don't get my book. Okay, we're at horror. If my parents had to put my book in a category, I'm just making jokes. Look at me. He's so funny. Read his book. Y'all, I found it. What do I do now? Wait, I can't buy this. I am this. Oh my God. Am I about to steal my own book right now? I can't do that. That's a bad example. Or is that very anti-capitalist? How did I obtain this? You will never know. My book came out like 2 years ago. A lot of feedback we got was, it looks gay. This looks like a gay book. How can I take home to my Christian household? Gay book, suburbia. No. Cannot read mom mad. Mom mad, dad mad, gay. No. So the paperback has a removable gay cover. And now it just looks unmarked and emo. It's so cool. I think it's so cool. This is very much a time capsule of my experience. I wrote this book when I was 21, going into 22. And it's filled with a lot of pictures that I posted online all through 2015 to 2018. It's got a bunch of anecdotal stories from me, a lot of my tips with coming out. I don't have any siblings, so this is really written from the perspective of your trans older brother. He had to figure it out first, and now he's gonna help. But the names. People say really nice things about me on the first page. Also, Tyler Oakley wrote the foreword. Names I considered. Cade. The reason I didn't do Cade is Cade McKenna. Cade McKenna? It wasn't Cade McKenna. No. Adam. When I was 17 years old, I wanted to change my name to Adam. And I was like, we can't do that. Evan, I love the name Evan. If I get to name my kid, I'll probably name my kid Evan. River, Max, Reese, Riley. I went by Riley briefly when I was like 15. It was at a time where I was making videos online and like no one knew my name. That was back when everyone was doing usernames and they weren't really saying their names on the internet. Cause like, you know, stranger danger. So I went by Riley. Jamie. I love the name Jamie. Josh. Wait, why am I such a Josh? Imagine my name was Josh. Give me a football. My name is Josh. Why do I have this? Why didn't you make a video about your top surgery when it happened? This comment is so nice because that was a conscious choice. And I often forget people look at me and know my life. Not only did I not make a top surgery video when I first got top surgery, but when I got on testosterone, most people, they make monthly updates. Every single month, it's like, here's the changes I had. I did not do that. I was making monthly updates and I made so many videos, but that was all for me. And then I cut those down into a 1-year video that I posted 1 year later. And as for top surgery, I talked about it a little bit in the beginning of a video, like months later. And the reason for that is I was going through transitioning. For a large part of my transition, you know, I was this voice for trans rights and for a lot of trans youth. And a lot of times in my transition, I didn't feel 100% confident or excited. I kind of felt like changes weren't coming fast enough. I was really nitpicky about how I looked. Hormones are like raging in your body. You're going through a second puberty. There's a lot that comes with it, and it was really difficult for me to make a video and then sit down and edit it and like hear my voice. Because I was like, do I sound like that? Or do I look like that? And I know I said it before in my last video, but it's like I come from a lot of people having a lot of opinions on me that were negative. And so I think that really tainted the water for me. When I was in a really vulnerable place, like I'm changing my body, I really didn't want other people to have access to me in that way and to be able to have opinions, even though I had so much support. Like I had so much support. You know what it feels like to be like, I just feel so alone. And so, yeah, it was really, I really didn't want people to have opinions on my body. I started being really seldom sharing my experiences in that way. The analogy that I gave myself at the time was like, I am a butterfly and I'm in my cocoon and I'm just doing all the things that are necessary. And at some point, I'm gonna fly out and we're gonna do all the things we wanna do. But at that point, I really just wanted to like live life, not be so accessible for people to be able to have opinions on my body. You know? But now, I mean, like, yeah, we do whatever we want. But also now, I look at the internet so much differently than I did, not only when I was younger in age, but younger, like, in the adolescence of my identity. Like, I haven't just grown up through the years, I've, like, grown into myself. So, like, when I started making YouTube videos, it wasn't to be a teacher for other people. I was 11. It was something fun to do that then turned into a lifeline when I came out and, like, lost a lot of people. And so making videos online was purely to find peer support, to find other people who feel the same way that I do, because I don't see them IRL. And so I'm gonna find them URL. And so now I have so much support, I have a full life. And so the internet for me is a place where I can share parts of myself, give plot points of my journey, and hopefully help other people or kids out there who are just like me, that were just trying to find information and validation to also show, hey, there's other people that are like you, because the internet was life-saving. So if I was to have like some gender-affirming situation today, there's no way I wouldn't make like an entire video series about it. Because now I'm coming from a completely different perspective. Those are all the cues that I'm gonna A today. Comment question to get the hoodies. Just one. Don't be greedy. Un hoodie. So if you're an adult, who is one person in your adolescence that you looked up to that was a safe and affirming person? And if you're a kid watching this, who is that person for you? Is it a teacher? Is it a parent? Is it a friend? Someone's older sibling? Who is someone that is like your senior and offers you safety, knowledge, love, guidance, support? Who is that person for you, and what is a great experience that you had? I was the kid that when I was in high school, I only ate lunch in teachers' classrooms. I was friends with so many teachers. So many teachers were like that person for me that I could like really talk to, and I feel like they really saw me. Who is that one elder for you that you really get support from? I'll be picking one of the comments in my next video, and you can get a hoodie I had on the floor. It's pride. Okay, that's all I had to say to your faces today. I love you guys so much. Seriously. Bye.
Miles.